Okay, well, thank you very much for coming to this session. We greatly appreciate your presence. We're very proud to be here actually with Rajiv Shesh, our Chief Revenue Officer, and Kalyan Kumar, our Chief Product Officer. This is our first time as HCLSoftware in Davos. This is the 54th edition, and we're very, very happy and proud to be here, actually. So what we're going to tell you today, it's a little bit about who we are as HCLSoftware. We will share with you kind of our for cloud strategy and how our portfolio aligns to customer needs, right? So if you think about what happened over the last few years, it's quite immense, right? We lived through it, so it doesn't look so much. But if you go only 3 years back, the world changed in front of us, right? Digitally. Now we work remotely. Now there is more access to technology than ever before. The way we collaborate, the way we work, the way we need to secure the data, the way that the data flows, the immense change in AI adoption and growth. So when you put all those variables together, what has happened in the last 5 years, it's quite amazing, right? Technologically speaking, there were very few times in our lifetimes that technology has evolved so fast, right? Especially over the last year. And that's changing everything. But there are four things that actually drive the agenda of every single enterprise in terms of digital and what's happening in the digital economy. Of course, data comes at the top, right? Everything is data. Everything we do, from collaboration to whatever we do, is data, right? Then you need to secure that data, right? And then the way we collaborate, the way we develop, it's another core trend, right, around digital transformation. So you have data, you have security, you have digital transformation, and then you need to analyze the data, you need to secure the data, and then you need to run all that data. So the cloud becomes your core segment and core framework to actually do everything you need to do to actually stay within that digital economy. But this speed and change in trends made a huge impact in the way that we actually work, and that's why we call it Digital Plus. If you think about technology in the old way technology, and this means only 40 years back, you would have thought that it was okay to have your company statements, your weekly pipeline reviews, the way you manage your systems in very basic ways. Excel, and many ways, marketing platforms doing email and SMS only. It was okay to be just digital. It was okay to have basic systems. Today it's not okay anymore because the company next to you, it's asking AI platforms how to write better content. It's asking AI platforms how to make more efficient, automate processes, how to secure applications that now are being hacked with AI. So the world has changed. It's not enough to be digital. You have to be digital plus. So I'm going to ask you, Rajiv, around these four trends, what are we doing from an HCLSoftware perspective to address that market opportunity and change?
Yeah, thank you, Dario. These trends are in some ways posing a significant challenge to our customers. We need to flexibly adopt, right? I mean, it's how quickly can you adopt to the changing customer needs, the changing market, so that you manage the threat that emerges from new players that come in play, and also leverage the opportunity that the market presents itself. It is now possible in today's day and time to be able to segment, to get to a segment of one. So we have clients now who have more than 500 million clients, and they want to segment to a segment of one so that they can approach the customer in a very specific manner. And you combine that with today's environment where you need to seek permission before you actually address the needs of the customer, it actually does present itself with a fairly challenging environment. At the same time, what we are also observing is that data sovereignty is becoming a bigger and bigger ask for nations. And today I was having a discussion with a very senior minister at the Congress Center from Africa. If you look at the way certain privileges that have been available to the Western world and not have been available to different parts of the world, there's degree of consciousness that is emerging in those societies, and that is posing data sovereignty to become. So you combine all this with the tremendous amount of opportunity that digital offers, it becomes an interesting problem to solve, because who does not want to exploit the opportunity that is available? That is where our strategy is now beginning to resonate with customers who are dealing with complex requirements that emanate from the manner in which data needs to be managed. And therefore, our focus has been in this area. So there are 2-3 areas. One, we clearly want to focus on the way customers are able to use data in a sharp, intelligent manner, at the same time respecting the privacy of people, protecting their PIIs, and making sure at the same time that they are able to segment to one and meet the requirements of that customer. So that's how we are looking at. The second very important thing is security. Security actually comes into play from 2 perspectives. One is security management on a day-to-day basis, which our products and platforms offer. And we offer a very strong automation framework to manage security. But at the same time, there is an equally important aspect, which is security assurance. How do we ensure that the code that is being deployed, and increasingly we don't even know the source of the code, the supply chain of the code itself, the use of open source software inside a code that ultimately meets the solution. How do we assure that that code meets the norms of security that it's supposed to deliver? So that's the second part, which is very key and very important at this point. One, data; second, security. The third thing that is equally important is that software needs to work. When you commit a transaction to software, you should be able to trust it. And what a beautiful place to share this message, wherein today Dr. Schwab said that there is time to recreate trust. That we go on, and KK can elaborate a little more on this, because how do customers trust the transaction with us? That's the third thing. That means that we have to have an assurance that our software works. So 3 key themes: data, security, data and the complexity in which we have to deal with, security. Third is working software. So these are 3 things that actually drive our strategy along 4 distinct areas in which we serve the market. One is business applications. So we are enabling commerce at scale, which our competitors struggle to achieve. So business applications, reaching out to clients, our software has been able to scale in terms of marketing campaigns that people have wanted to reach 1/3 of the world's population on a daily basis. We've got customers who engage with governments to have 180 million interactions per week and have that kind of scale. So that's analytics, application. So that's one area where aftermarket ERPs, that's one area where we work. Second area that we are working is security and intelligent automation. Third is data. And the fourth area that we work is in the area of what we call as the create opportunity. How do we create outstanding digital experiences for customers of our customers, right? So these are four areas along these three vectors. That's how we are driving our business. And, and we thought that with 5 years of solid work, we started in 2019, Dario. Mm-hmm. And we think we are ready to come to Davos and make a statement here. This is the first time here as a software company that we are ready to do business. And we are ready to do it in a manner in which we will actually transform the way in which enterprise software gets consumed.
That's excellent, Rajiv. And by the way, if you were wondering who is this pretty face, I'm Dario De Barrieri. I'm the VP of Marketing for HCLSoftware. On the back of what you just said, Rajiv, and this is, you put it nicely together, these four areas of focus, right, which we built in just the last 5 years. Can you share a couple of clients that you're proud of?
Yeah, I don't want to name specific clients,
or
in
cases.
the process, but at the same time, we are seeing that organizations that have a degree of complexity in their transactions, and three sets of organizations have that degree of complexity. One is the government. Okay, so our software right now, the government is using at population scale for G2C services, government to citizen services. And now government itself is addressing the requirements of the digital plus, because the economy is digital plus, it's for everybody in the ecosystem. So government, so both at state, local, federal government level. So people have built, 10 million applications on our platform. Now they're using new capability on that platform to make to create applications with a completely modern user experience and to help enable self-service by making these applications available on mobile devices in a very interesting kind of format, right? Which is enabling us to have very different kind of engagement models as well. So that's one example. Second is financial sector. Banks and financial institutions across the world today are actually looking at how do they engage with customers so that they can serve them fully and in a non-intrusive manner. So these are two examples wherein, and in telco is the third segment, wherein again there is a degree of complexity that is there, wherein our customers are enjoying the benefit of the approach that we have. KK says that today we've been building software for only a minority of the world's population. The large part of the world sits in the east of the GMT line. There, we see a different degree of complexity, and that's where we think we will enable with our solutions for those economies to leapfrog.
That's amazing, Rajiv. Thank you for the answer. KK, now over the last year, I would say, as a company, we developed the 4 cloud strategy, right? Which it's rapidly expanding across all segments of needs. So if you look at these 4 segments, right? Security, data, AI, and digital transformation, our 4 cloud strategy touches every single one of them in their heart, right? What can you say about our 4 cloud strategy and how does it evolve and how it becomes an integral part of our strategy?
So just to give it a quick short blurb on this, we think that many software companies and especially cloud companies come and do a lot of preaching to tell the customer how you should run your business. And I think that's where we believe there is a fundamental flaw, the way the market is approaching this. You can't blueprint and templatize a business. It's next to impossible, correct? Then everyone looks the same, correct? We live in a very diverse environment where people have so many different sets of thinking. The way we really look at this is that we start to relook at this whole 4 clouds. The 4 clouds are not clouds, by the way, in the sense that the way the clouds are defined. We see the cloud as a way to consume, transact, and help the customer assemble their technology capability to deliver business outcomes. The first thing is what we call as rewiring their business. Because effectively, most of these customers are either acquiring, prospecting, transacting, and nurturing customers. In that journey, they need a set of capabilities, but they need to wire them in the way they want to run it. That's what we call as business cloud, which means it's a platform of trust. It's all about building around trust. Trust in terms of how I use the data, where I store the data, how I segment the data, how I do transactions, where keeping in mind PII, PHI, geographic boundaries, sovereignty, so many aspects. The second is you start to really create capabilities or applications. Now these apps, again, not every app doesn't need to look like the best rich 3D VR application on mobile, correct? You go and step back and take a look at, we live in a world of forms. Trust me, you do all this experience on one end, you still have to fill forms in the government. You still have PDF files, which are editable PDF files where you put stuff in. So digitalization cannot be seen in one universal lens. It's about how do you help create digitization to digitalization. These are two different pieces. There's still a lot of digitization which is needed, by the way, correct? There's still a lot of pen and paper in many parts of the world which needs to be enabled. Simple forms-based applications. Most of the places we fill forms, trust. And I think people talk about low code. They'll come and say, I'm going to help you build the world's best mobile app. Absolutely, yes, good. There's one segment. Correct? Multi-experience development, but there is this whole segment around simplifying. Can I just digitize forms, make life easier, simple? So we sort of look at pragmatically a low-code platform which allows you to do that, weave it, and not everything should be done on our platform. You have to connect with so many various systems, so the integration becomes a key. The third thing is that we have a very unique point of view on hybrid data. We sometimes can look like a little odd saying that everyone wants data to go to the cloud. We believe the reality is that data is going to be hybrid. It's going to be from the edge to cloud. It's very hard because the amount of data which is getting generated, not everything is going to go to the cloud. Because there's a hybrid data play, continues to be there. And the fourth is what we call as intelligent automation, which is about how do you automate, securely automate, deploy, and manage the fabric. That's what we call as 4 clouds. But the difference is that underlyingly, it's built on a ubiquitous cloud. You can deploy it on a public cloud. You can consume these apps of AWS, Azure, Google marketplaces. You can deploy it on a sovereign cloud. Because you cannot force one model on top of the customer. Choice is a very, very important thing. And the last is infusing new capabilities, Gen AI, data intelligence, and other stuff that continues to be there. The customer has a choice of how much they want to plug in. It's not that everything is just forced plug-in. It's giving choice. So I think choice is a very, very important. Trust on one end, choice on another, and that's how we really look at this whole thing.
That's great, KK. So along the lines with the 4 clouds and our cloud strategy, so can you just use a couple of examples of how clients have adopted our cloud strategy and how it's helping them today?
So let's take a couple of examples on the business cloud. So we've got customers who need to really deploy transaction systems at scale, and they operate in multiple countries. They are multinational. See, there are global companies and there are multinational companies. Multinational companies, the way they are structured, need to operate across different countries, different markets, different continents, and adhere to a lot of localized business constructs. So we see them deploy some of our technology in what we call cloud, but mostly we're seeing this concept of multi-tenancy suddenly becoming a big challenge. So not everything is multi-tenant. They're saying, I want to have a hybrid deployment model of single tenancy and multi-tenancy. There are markets, there are certain type of data and segments. I want to completely create an isolated tenant. And the reason for that is this whole AI and Gen AI, where you need access to raw data. So the most important thing is that if you want to start to really do strong data engineering, you need to tag, annotate, and label and manage your data. It's very hard to do that in a multi-tenant environment. So ability to create your own tenant, that's a big, big play. And then there is a significant amount of data governance and data sovereignty aspects just coming in. So we've got customers deploying commerce platforms, MarTech platforms at scale, but keeping this as an example. Banks, telcos, large retailers. The other extreme is we've got customers who are deploying automation at scale. We manage about close to 100 million plus endpoints for customers. using our BigFix engine. It allows you to really do patching, inventory, software distribution, remote control, compliance, and the whole 9 yards. We process about 1 million servers we support on AI ops, correct? But these are all giving the customer the choice of how they really want to deploy at scale, but with context. We believe that you need to give customer a choice. There is no one templatized fit all. And that's where, Dario, we've been doing this new approach in certain segments of the market where for critical large customers, we do something called customer feature teams. We are moving away from saying that you get standardized products and you customize everything around that to build something called engineered extensions. If the customer needs are unique, we are actually standing up customer feature teams in our engineering teams which can build extensions to the customer so that they do not go and do over customization, spend a lot of money, and they're not able to upgrade. Because as the software creator, if we help the customer engineer it the right way, they can extract better value. So we're doing something very differentiated which traditionally any software company won't do. Because we want to do what is right for the customer. So customer success is very, very important in the center of this whole strategy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And today, if you think about what's happening in the software landscape, there is kind of this expertise is moving more and more into specific areas, right? So software companies are being built on the back of expertise around one area, right? But when you put it all together, what we have is actually an end-to-end solution for customers, right? So we can basically, when you lift the hood of the car, you can actually talk about everything. You can talk about security, you can talk about data, digital transformation, marketing, commerce, right? But there is one particular trend, KK, that I'm interested in your point of view, which is 12 months ago, AI has been evolving and developing and increasing its presence in the world, right? Since probably now more than nearly 15 years, right? And even more if you think about, with the real origins. But commercially, 15 years ago, give and take. But in the last year, it's just a small application changed the way in which everybody sees and understands AI, right? Now everybody's talking about AI and they actually get it, right? Everybody understands what AI is. What is our strategic vision around AI, and more specifically around generative AI, which is kind of the buzzword, right? Which is just part of the AI family.
These days you can't escape anywhere without talking generative AI, correct? Always think it's, but when you take the fog out of this whole thing, it's basically deep learning tied with natural language processing. That's it. But it's now, and then there is so much buzz around this. But I always, in the morning panel, I was telling Professor Saikat the same thing. You have to break this into two. There is consumer tech, consumer AI, and what is happening with consumer and enterprise B2B businesses. Two different animals. This world, God made world in 7 days because he had no install base. Correct? You go and talk to the CIOs here. They've got nothing has been modernized in a way they really wanted to. What they've done is they've done abstraction. They still have mainframes. They still have modernized mainframe. They've got the new Z16, looks very nice, small, works, cheap transaction system. Customers want to move off it because they got a new tech, but then they realize some smarter customers are saying, the cost per transaction on this damn system is cheap, it works. Let me figure out. Then what they did, they built distributed systems, client server, added web, internet, mobile. But what's happened is they've built this whole landscape which is extremely complex. Consumer AI, Dario, absolutely, you, me are the product. We are actually making their AI better, correct? Whether it's Google, the Amazon, Microsoft, their AI tools, OpenAI, it's all being built around that. But when you flip the whole thing to enterprise, and which is where we play, we think that enterprises need to look at AI holistically, responsibly, because they are managing customers' data. Trust becomes a very, very important factor. So how do you annotate, tag, and label data, customer data? How do you make sure that they live in a more tenanted domain, they can manage their life cycle, applying amazing Gen AI capabilities, but around data which is yours, correct? And then you want to mash up your data and public data with the right ethics, the right responsibility, the right guardrails is what we really see. We've got amazing, every product of ours have a generative AI plugin, correct? Like if you take our BigFix engine, we've got AEX, which allows you to do self-heal, chatbot, employee self-service kind of capability. You go to our MarTech stack, we've got an AI, Gen AI capability embedded into our MarTech stack to be able to query this thing. Same thing in commerce. But we're making sure that it works on top of the data which the customer has and they control. And what we've done is we built something called a prompt orchestrator. One of the things which we very early figured out in Gen AI, is this lot of language models out there, and there is this mythical unit called the token, which neither the creator nor the consumer is able to figure out how it works, because based on the type of the prompt, the query, that unit mechanics, the economics changes. So we built a prompt orchestration capability onto all our software products, so that you can plug in multiple language models, which allows the software teams to really figure out, if I can use, you don't need a big hammer to like hit a small nail. You need a small hammer to hit on a small nail. So it's the same this thing of choosing the right language model, helping them do chain of thought reasoning and things like that. Because we think the way these technologies work today, you have to load all your data into one of the providers' cloud. You want to use Azure OpenAI, all your data has to be in Azure. You want to use Google's Palm, all your data has to go into Google. If you want to use AWS Bedrock, you move all the data out there. So what's going to happen is customers will not choose one or all. They'll end up being segmented because they're also living in a very distributed landscape. That's where I think, Dario, the real value differentiation is. You have to take Gen AI and contextualize it to the data, the application, and the landscape. Common use cases like coding assistants and other stuff, absolutely good use cases. But then when you really start to take it to enterprise data, context is very, very important.
That's amazing. That's when everything comes together, right? So if you think about, some of the first comments from you, KK, and you, Rajiv, around digital, moving from digital to digital plus economy. If you think about digital is the old way of doing things, is the old way of doing marketing. Can you afford to do that today without AI? Can you do it without cloud? Can you do it without innovation? Can you do it without these, for example, our marketing applications being part of an entire customer experience where you talk about the customers don't care if it's just the marketing platform. What they want is that when you offer them something in retail, for example, whatever you offer from a marketing campaign perspective, then you can deliver exactly the same in the commerce platform, and then you actually can distribute that through a rich digital experience. So if you think about customer experience, which is what you were describing as the business cloud, is from promotion to your home in a seamless experience, right? So can you do that today in the digital economy? No, you can do that in the digital platform.
Just to add to one more thing, we do not make the customer, for example, I'll give you a very simple thing. Our customer data platform, you do not need to use my MarTech applications to use our CDP.
Right.
You might use 2 applications in the MarTech domain. You want to time something else. We've got a customer using our CDP to basically clean up SAP's data, because this is a commerce platform. They've got multiple SKUs they're ingesting. We believe that the mindset of most of the software organizations, and because our origins comes from engineering services with a lot of empathy, we do not want to hold the customer hostage. The traditional model in software product is you lock the customer in, keep stacking more and more, so that the customer gets locked into that, and then you keep changing your licensing model, correct? We believe that choice should exist across even the way the customer consumes it. They might like a piece of a technology. You have to be flexible enough to work with the customer, because I think today there's a lot of change that needs to happen collectively in the industry, and we believe that we're just a small food for thought what we're going to do within our customer base in that. And then the way we want to build software products, Dario, is West versus, I would call it, East and South. Software products are built for the West because where the economies are wired for the Western world, correct? You go and start to take, the reason I say that it's 4 billion population, just take China out of the picture, just take South Asia, Africa, Middle East, correct? The needs, the fundamental way the technologies evolved are fundamentally different, correct? Like if you want to go and build software to work in commerce or MarTech in India, you need to be connected to the India stack. India stack, the government is building a stack called a Gov stack called India stack. It's got identity, it's got commerce protocols. You have to plug into that ecosystem. You take a product which was built for completely a different world to go and work in that. And you take it to Africa, it's going to evolve differently in different countries within Africa. So we have to all learn and adapt. And that's what we believe, that be open, work with the customer. The markets are changing, the buyers are changing. So we'll all have to evolve around this.
Yeah, absolutely true. Rajiv and KK, I'll ask you the final question. We are here. We cover a wide range of solutions, right? Probably very few companies in the software industry can do that end to end. We moved from digital to digital plus economy with AI and with cloud. Why HCLSoftware?
I go back to the 3 key things. right, is that we are committed to our software working. If we have to compromise on 10 different things because it's going to add risk to the trust that our customers have in our software, we will choose trust in a committed transaction to HCLSoftware above anything else. Second is security is paramount to our software. And third is our point of view on data first, and the flexibility that the customers seek data, and the way they intend using data in the way in which the opportunities and challenges exist with the changing market and the changing customer need, I think is the third factor. But above all, there is any company is people are a very important factor. And with people comes in creativity and empathy of our engagement with clients. I think when our customers engage with the people at HCLSoftware, like, some of the people are enamored by Ferrari, the partnership. So Ferrari uses our technology. And the Ferrari technology leadership was telling us that there is something unique about the people at HCL. They're all very happy. And so I would think that above all, that's a very important factor, that when customers engage with us, they engage with us and they find that these guys are different and we can trust them with the transaction that they're doing with us. And that's how, we're beginning to see fruits of our work.
Yeah. KK, you want to comment?
Couple of interesting, couple of 2 points on top of this. One is empathy. We believe software companies traditionally lacked empathy. We are empath. Because it's how we are wired, correct? You can't change certain things, correct? Customer centricity is the core, and that's the reason we talked about customer feature teams and customer success. If the customer is wiring their business on top of our platform, correct? It's a significant onus, and we work with the customer. It's for very incremental cost, for which they can save a lot of money overall. We are putting customer centricity at the first and even extending products to meet the customer's need. That's one. Empathy is going to be extremely important. Second, we are the largest software product company based out of Asia and the largest from India. Not the services side, but just software product. We are a $1.5 billion software product company, correct? Operating in 132 countries with over 1,000 plus business partners, correct? So we are we're building this out. We're slowly walking the path. We still, I would call a 5-year startup. We just had the benefit of ability to put together a portfolio where we can really nurture and build it around. So, but I think the last point is we'll be always customer first. Customer centricity is very, very important for us. That's how we'll evolve and grow.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, KK. Thank you very much, Rajiv. If you join us on the next door, we'll give you a Ferrari hat if you want one. I will close with one video and then we'll open up for questions. Yeah? Okay, very good.
Scuderia Ferrari is leveraging cutting-edge technology and unparalleled expertise to power the SF23 to the next level, to Digital Plus. The combination of hyper-connected software and people working together in harmony enables enterprises worldwide to achieve unprecedented expansion to the Digital Plus economy. HCLSoftware fuels the Digital Plus economy, where innovation and the passion for victory light the way.
Thank you very much for coming. If you have any questions, here we are.
Thank you. Very interesting. You mentioned briefly, I think, open source software. So I wonder what your experience or perspective is with regards to increasing the use of open source
wonder what your perspective is as you mentioned open source, and how that might gradually replace a world that has been quite dominated by big ERP names, say SAP, Oracle, or big CRM providers, Salesforce, and so. Because it seems to be clearly, and then we're not even talking about Web3 blockchain enabled, because the world that you describe has been for a long time the success story of the Infosys implementing SAP, for example, and many others. And I think what you were describing kind of describes a little bit that gradually that world dominated by a handful of ERP and CRM providers is gradually changing. I wonder what your experience is.
See, if you go back to this whole issue of open source versus closed source, we need to really go back and look at why it emerged. It emerged purely because of commercial models and the way software companies treated customers. If you go and talk to a customer saying that, what do you need? They say, I need flexibility, I need control, and I need my ability to pivot to a direction. So what we're realizing, the open source is, there are two parts of this. There is open source and there is built on open source. What most of the products which we have, so like let's say you take our commerce engine. You can run on a Tomcat server. You can run MariaDB as a database. You can deploy it on a open Django framework or whatever is the combination, and you can deploy whatever the customer has choice, correct? We give them choice of data. Now the data which we generate, customer has 100% access to the underlying data, so they can export the data, move it anywhere, things like that. So when we tuck back into the customer side, what you want? So I think it's very important to listen. Sometimes this industry doesn't listen. They have a view and they push it on top of the customer in terms of replicability. When we started to look at this whole aspect of open source, there are two hindsights of this, correct? Open source gives you open innovation, quicker innovation. Very, very good for infrastructure technology, platform technology, like things around web, core foundational technologies, like what Linux has done. But to be honest, today, if you look at Linux, how many customers use true open source Linux? Less than 5%, correct? Because the open source has become a new business model. Basically, put open source out there, and then they say, well, I've got enterprise features, I've got this features, and then you end up basically buying a subscription model. We're going and starting to talk to customers and say, what do you want? They say, hey, I want to build a product, but I want to have, I don't need to copy your, I need a license of your IP. So we started to talk to customers. Let's say they build their commerce engine on top of our platform. We went to them, what do you need? Why are you trying to custom build a commerce platform? They say, oh no, I want to have flexibility in the way I want to drive. So we started to do something called source code licensing. We got to customers and said, okay, this is my product. There's an IP license, commerce, it's fine. I'll license the source code to you. People give you object code. Here is the source code. Hook on this, build on top, and we do this something called customer feature teams, correct? The customer of one customer, unique product, enable the customer to build on top, and it's more of a commercial structuring. Now they have the access to the source code. They can expand, build it, and take it in a different direction. We give them engineered upgrades and extensions. Then it runs on top of open source operating system or open source technology stack. That's what we're really figuring out, to going back to the customer and saying open source for infrastructure technology, absolutely is. Where I think a lot of these problems could get solved, Paul, is with governments building open infrastructure. So I'll give what and we're seeing this in India especially, what's happening. No, three things. UID. So KYC, KYC is the big cost for all these companies. Oh, I need to know who the customer is. Basically, KYC, now the government is saying, pay me some fee, saying that all the technology infrastructure, they have this like 10 rupee or 5 rupee transaction processing for UID. Because what people did, they started making zillions of API calls onto the free infrastructure. The government said, yeah, if you're making money, it's for citizens, people, free. But if an enterprise starts to make money and use my API, pay me something back, correct? This is public infrastructure, it's taxpayers' money, correct? So they've set up nice Section 8 companies which are basically not for profit, but they generate income on people using the digital public, they call it the DPI, the digital public infrastructure. Similarly, now they are built with ONDC, the commerce protocol. So rather than having proprietary commerce, this thing, anyone can plug in and start to do that. Payments as UPI. Visa, MasterCard are fundamentally raising up and saying, basically anyone can send money to anyone. And now they've put some fees like you have to pay 2 rupees or 1 rupee for anything above 3,000 rupees transaction, which is fair, correct? You're basically getting a fully, you used to pay 2.5% to Visa or MasterCard for transactions, correct? So that is open. I would not call it open source, but that's open, general open. You give an open architecture, plug in, build, government build. I think you're going to see some of those frictions, many parts of the world, that kind of architecture. And Web3, land records, it's very interesting. This is a big discussion happening on land records, on open blockchain architecture. To the next thing which is happening in India now is they're saying they're going to use a standardized blockchain architecture to digitize land records using this. And then you can have Web3 apps for leasing, subleasing, tenanting. So that's how they're really building out some of this. And we are plugging into the ecosystem to really see. And then they're licensing that to other governments. They're going back to say, take the stack, build it. A lot of African countries are now looking at India's stack and saying, hey, I've got the core infrastructure, let me build it. And they're giving the know-how to do that. So I think it's going to be interesting. The way the open source market will change, Paul, also very interesting. I think that whole model is going to evolve through in a very different way. Yep.
Thank you. Hi. So I've got a couple of questions listening, and I think what you guys have done in 5 years is fantastic. The first thing is, you said you've expanded to so many countries, I think 137, which is probably 27 countries a year. Have you, I suppose that's for you, sir, have you managed to keep control of quality of service, the quality of service you provide to your clients and you provide to your customers, especially when you go to, I suppose, the smaller countries, if you like, and who expect to probably receive the same quality of service as any of your other clients would? And I think my follow-up question would then be about Ferrari, big fan, of course, to say the team innovates at light speed. You know, the innovation that they bring into the market is quite quick, high, fast. Have you managed to cope with that, to kind of go along with them as they innovate as well?
Yeah, so, it's a great question. What we keep a track of is our, net promoter score with the customers. So, and we measure it, with a single goal that it should be improving quarter on quarter, month on month right now. So it has been, and at 81.9, it is among the best industry best benchmarks, right? So it's while we've got presence in so many countries, our strategy has been focused on business partner empowerment. So we had a business partner meet in Barcelona last year, where we extended our philosophy of the company of employees first, customer second, to partners first. So therefore, empowering partners to be able to engage and deliver services to customers is a very important part of our journey. So, do we have a perfect world wherein every customer is kind of just singing, dancing? Perhaps not. But these are two things that what is backed, what enables us is our software works. So the task of customers, to make sure that, we are keeping the customers happy becomes a little easier, right? And this tracking. As regards Ferrari and innovation, Ferrari is engaging with us in two areas. And the first is the area of security assurance. So all the code that gets deployed, they want to make sure that it's security assured. So there it's, moving very fast. Second is that they have engaged us in the area of building modern apps using low-code application development platforms. There, we are a step ahead of where Ferrari wants us to be. So I think we are, it's a journey. And this partnership has actually enabled us to quicken the pace of our innovation. And that was one of the biggest purposes which we... And
just point on Ferrari. Of all the Formula One teams which you can partner with, this is the only F1 team, they do a due diligence whether they want to partner with you or not. Yeah. Every other Formula One team, because see, their business model is they build 12,000 cars a year? Mm-hmm. So for them, trust, brand, is, so for them to have us and versus us, it was a very, very different kind of, I think they spent 6 months doing due diligence on us, saying that should we want to this thing, and that really gave us a lot of faith that a brand, Ferrari is known for a brand for trust, correct? It's a trust brand. So similarly, the trust putting us.
And by the way, you know, we had several options in Formula One too. Yeah. But Dario knows how difficult we made it for him, saying that Ferrari or nothing. Yeah.
Good.
So
I think Rajiv, we need to.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, it's been enjoyable talking, Dario. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.